Political analysts joined me this morning to talk more about what we saw in last night's debate. We have Linda Fidler, Democrat, and Kathy Abernathy, a Republican, joining me to discuss this debate. Good morning to you both. Thanks so much for coming in.
Good morning.
Linda, let's just start with you because the headline this morning is President Biden kind of having a difficult debate last night. I mean, this is something that we are seeing on all major news outlets, not just here nationally, but around the world. He walked on stage immediately stumbling over his words. His voice seemed very weak and hoarse. And a lot of Democrats even waking up this morning saying it is time for President Biden to throw in the towel. We've got to find someone else heading into November. I mean, we're only a few months away from the election. As a Democrat, do you agree with that? As you were waking up this morning, seeing what happened on stage last night and seeing the performance that President Biden gave, what are your thoughts this morning? And do you agree that with some of these Democrats saying it may be time to find someone else?
Yeah, well, I did wake up this morning and I selected this shirt because I think it reflects how I feel, kind of all over the place about this. I was sad to see that, his performance was weak. He was not articulate. He was factual when he was able to get the information out, but he was not articulate. He was not on top of his game. I'm not sure if he was ill or what was going on. I think it's probably, a discussion that the Dems need to have. Is this the candidate we want? Are we moving forward? I think that convention is going to be very interesting, and leading up to it's going to be very interesting. And whether he is the nominee or not, I think the discussion is good because it's going to put more energy into the process.
What does President Biden need to do to rally support and, quite honestly, energy for the Democratic Party?
He's not exciting. He's not. I kind of think of him kind of like my dad was not exciting. He couldn't dance well. He would tell old dad jokes, but he was very effectual in being a good provider, not just for my family, but also in his professional life and for this community. And sometimes you don't need exciting. Sometimes you need somebody that actually can get things done. And actually, Biden has accomplished a lot of things in his term as president. The infrastructure bill, they've been trying to pass an infrastructure bill just to repair our bridges, our water systems, our roads for 40 years or so. And I feel like he was sitting in the Senate all that time watching it. And when he became president, he did that. He did pass the green bill package. So many other things, but he is not exciting. And I don't know if our voters need excitement. Trump is definitely more exciting, but he also, last night he was more articulate, but he was not factual.
So let's talk about that, Kathy, regarding President Trump's performance. A lot of people saying, watching these two men on screen, there was just a completely different split screen picture, right? Biden not having as much energy, former President Trump having a little bit more energy on stage. And while we should say that both candidates had misleading or false statements, a lot of fact checkers and journalists across the nation are saying President Trump repeatedly spoke about many things, and they were just either misleading or not true, including continuously or talking about how Democratic-led states allow babies to be killed after birth. He said there were no terror attacks during his presidency when there were a few. So Trump is known for making false statements. We've seen that repeatedly over the last several years. For those undecided voters, are they able to trust Trump in what he says?
Well, let's see. Trump's been accused of all this Russian collusion. Trump was accused of lying about Hunter Biden's laptop, and yet it was Joe Biden lying about the laptop, his own son's laptop, who knew it was his laptop. And they said, Russia, Russia, Russia. I don't blame Donald Trump for just going right after all of them on that, because the lying or exaggeration is different when it goes into the legal field, which is what they've been doing to Trump. That Joe Biden's administration, we can talk about how sad it is and how he behaved last night. His administration, somebody's running it. And that administration is going after his political opponent, has been doing it up until last night when they said, okay, Joe, here's your chance, and he didn't do well. So we're supposed to focus now on whether Donald Trump exaggerated his claims about his administration when we all know what it was. We know the economy was great. We didn't have a border spilling over with drugs and and criminals and people from China and all over the world. They're young men. You know, they're not people struggling to get away for their safety. There's something major going on with the infiltration on our border. I didn't hear enough of that last night about it, but those are pretty serious things that do affect our lives.
So you're saying that, you know, there may be some things that Trump has been misleading on or so forth, but how do voters, I mean, should voters be able to trust what he is saying, especially like on a stage like last night?
Well, he's saying what his administration was like, and his administration was like, we had a good economy, we had a safer world. We don't have either of those now.
I want to talk, I want to get your perspective on something, because we're having this presidential debate several months before the election. I mean, this in itself is unique, the timing of it. And then of course there's all these rules as well. Do you think that anything and everything that was said last night and what happened, do you think that a lot of voters are going to forget about it when ballots show up in like 4 months?
No.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think they'll forget about it. I think that what this was for those Democrats in power positions that were concerned that Joe Biden can't make it all the way through, and we need to test it early and not later, and test it 2 months before the Democratic convention. That's why they held it. And Trump would agree to any debate. He said he would, and he went there. So, yeah, I think there's a good chance they'll remove him in August. But on the other hand, let's not forget, this man has been sitting in the White House 3.5 years. He's obviously not the person running and calling the shots. I hope people would notice that last night. To me, that was the most significant.
Linda, I got to ask you kind of the same question here. I mean, we're many months away until ballots are out. We still have the conventions as well. Do you think people are going to forget kind of the disastrous performance that everyone's talking about with Biden? And how do you recover from that?
I'm not sure they're going to forget about this performance from either candidate. From Donald Trump up there telling falsehoods, not really giving any substance, to Biden not being able to be articulate enough to convey substance and factuals. I don't know. I think it's going to be a really interesting few months leading up to November. I think a lot of people will forget, or they just don't tune in. One of the things, this was kind of an echo chamber, in a sense, for all people that probably tuned into the debate. They probably almost had their mind made up on who they were going to vote for. I think the group they need to hit and really target are the 18 to 40-year-olds. They have a lot at stake here. They have a lot of things that for their future that they need to get out and vote. But I'm not sure they're going to be excited enough to get out and vote. And they should, because like the Project 2025 that they're working on, if Trump is elected, you know, it really is demolish the Department of Education, demolish the FCC, demolish so many of the federal structures that we need. Maybe they do need to be revamped, revised, but they don't need to be demolished. So it's very scary.
All right, Linda Fidler and Kathy Abernathy, thanks so much for joining me this morning.
I love those two agendas, Department of Education, federal. What the heck does it do?
So I will say, again, we've got several months until the actual election. We will have you on both to talk more about the latest developments as they come up. All right.